On July 2nd, PJM Interconnection served its highest estimated peak load ever, 168,158 megawatts, during a record-breaking heat wave.
That preliminary figure already accounts for demand response, customers cutting use during the emergency. PJM estimated that demand response delivered about 6,113 megawatts that day.
This was not a national grid record. It was a record for PJM, the regional grid operator serving 13 states and Washington, D.C. But it is a vivid example of how extreme heat, growing load, and generation outages can tighten the system.
And it raises an important question. Where can small, distributed solar help? The answer is real, but it is more nuanced than plug-in solar solves the grid.
Welcome to Plug-in Solar US latest news. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Mike. PJM says its estimated all-time peak load reached 168,158 megawatts between 5 and 6 p.m. on July 2nd, 2026. The previous record was 165,563 megawatts set in 2006.
Why was the system under such pressure?
PJM reported extreme heat with a record regional average temperature of 97 degrees on July 2nd and forced generation outages ranging from 18,100 to 19,400 megawatts between July 2nd and July 4th. As demand rose and some generators tripped offline, PJM used emergency procedures to maximize supply and manage demand.
That included demand response?
Yes, demand response is a grid resource where participants have committed to reduce their electricity use during system emergencies. PJM estimated preliminary demand response performance of about 6,113 megawatts on July 2nd.
The article discusses Department of Energy emergency orders. What did they do?
PJM received a temporary federal emergency order, allowing certain generation units to operate beyond environmental permit limits. And it estimated about 3.25 gigawatts of generation came from those units during the period. PJM also received an order that, as a last resort to avoid outages, could allow action to curtail data centers and other large loads equipped with backup generation.
Were data centers forced onto backup generators on July 2?
No. PJM issued a warning that large load customers should be prepared to switch within 15 minutes. But PJM says the action itself was not needed and was never issued. That distinction matters.
So the record shows a stressed system that remained reliable, but only with significant coordination and emergency tools.
Exactly.
The article uses an illustrative calculation. If 10% of PJM's roughly 65 million customers had a 400-watt plug-in solar system, the nameplate total would be 2,600 megawatts. Is that useful?
It is useful as a capacity illustration. 6.5 million systems times 400 watts equals 2,600 megawatts of nameplate capacity. That is about 43% of the 6,113 megawatts of preliminary demand response PJM reported on July 2.
But nameplate capacity is not the same as delivered output at the critical hour.
Exactly. Solar output depends on sunshine, orientation, shade, weather, location, and time of day. A July late afternoon peak may still have solar production, but it will generally be lower than midday output. Plug-in solar cannot be counted on as a dispatchable replacement for demand response, utility-scale generation, storage, or grid operations.
So why does plug-in solar still matter in this story?
Because distributed generation can reduce a household's daytime purchases from the grid when it is producing and being consumed on site. In a heat wave, that can help reduce local demand at the margin, especially when output overlaps with air conditioning use. For the consumer, the direct value is bill reduction, not a claim that the system independently protects the grid. For the grid, millions of small reductions can be meaningful in aggregate, but planners need accurate data, realistic production assumptions, and lawful, safe installations.
And eligibility still depends on the state and the site.
Absolutely. Check your state's pathway, the property rules, product standards, and installation requirements.
Never connect a system just because a peak demand headline makes it sound urgent.
Mike, give us the bottom line in 3 takeaways.
First, PJM's preliminary estimated July 2 peak of 168,158 megawatts was a record for the regional grid operator, supported by demand response and emergency measures. Second, a distributed solar calculation can illustrate scale, but nameplate watts are not guaranteed peak hour output and cannot replace reliability planning. Third, where it is legal and correctly installed, plug-in solar can reduce some daytime grid purchases. Its greatest promise is consumer savings plus incremental distributed support, not a standalone grid solution.
The July heat wave made one thing clear: reliable electricity depends on a system that can handle extreme conditions.
And that system is stronger when consumers have safe, lawful ways to manage their own energy use and production, alongside, not instead of, the grid tools that keep power flowing.
Read the full article and use the Plug-in Solar US savings calculator at pluginsolarus.com. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Mike. Thanks for listening.